In one of my other videos, when I do another video, I'm going to show you guys how to make a wonderful, wonderful potato salad. And I don't use these potatoes for potato salad, but for green beans and other items, like I use the red potato. This is what's just absolutely great. Okay? So I'm going to saute that. Add a little butter to that. Why not? And a little Creole seasoning. Okay? Now, I got the fire going up real high. I'm going to add just plain old water. And what I would like to suggest, you let this water cook down for about 30 minutes, or say 15 to 30 minutes, and then you drop your green beans. But because we're doing this for a video, we're just going to go ahead and drop our Zydeco green beans inside. We're going to cover this, and just when it's done, guess what I'm going to add? A teaspoon of sugar and some crushed red peppers. So we're going to just let that cook down, and then we're going to go on to making our smothered pork chops, which will complement these wonderful, wonderful green beans. Okay? So let's get started with the pork chops. Now it's time to make some slammin' smothered pork chops. Basically what you want to do is season your pork chops with a little Creole seasoning, and I use fresh ground pepper, a little paprika, and I let them sit overnight. The next thing you want to do, and keep in mind you don't want to put too much, you want to just dust them with a little flour, like I'm doing here, just very little flour, okay? Okay? In a heavy skillet, you're going to melt like a half a stick of butter, as I've done here, and you let your oil get very hot, because you want it to make a nice, nice crust so you can have a wonderful, wonderful pork chop. Add that. I'm going to season both sides. A little more Creole seasoning because it apparently sort of wiped off a little bit. And notice I don't use a lot of salt, because a lot of your Creole seasonings have a lot of salt in them. And sometimes when you're buying Creole seasoning, keep in mind that be very, very careful, because they have too much salt. So if you use salt on top of it, it'll sometimes ruin the dish. So basically what I want to do here is sear these, make them real pretty and brown on each side. And I'm going to make a gravy with this. I'm just going to let that cook. I would say for about, give it about, I'm going to cut the fire down a little lower and just let that fry. I know it looks fattening, but honey, talk about delicious. Let's just pick them up. You want to make sure that they're real pretty, so they're not really ready yet. So what you want to do is brown them real pretty on each side, okay? Now we're ready to turn these wonderful pork chops. Look at how beautiful. You want to make sure that it has a nice, nice brown color. You know, you can do the same thing with chicken. Okay, after you brown them on each side, then comes the Trinity. Now, I chopped my vegetables a little fine today, but usually I like them a little chunkier. So you have your onions, your celery, and your bell pepper. Keep in mind, Creoles cook with all the Trinity, so I'm going to add that to my smothered pork chops, okay? And I'm going to show you a little secret. You have a choice. You can let this cook in its own broth, okay? Add a few more little onions to that, because I like a lot of onions. And I know this is how my mama used to do it, but certainly you can use your chopper to cut some more onions in there. And I always like to add my garlic toward the end and not right in the middle of everything. So I sort of just take a few little pieces of garlic and put in there. Now, there's a secret to making a good gravy. What you can use some of the roux mixes. Now, this is a dry roux mix, okay? And this sort of steps up the process for making your gravy. It's a dry roux mix, which means that it has no oil, because if you go in the stores, you'll see jars of roux, you'll see a dry roux, you'll see a wet roux. I use sometimes a little dry roux, and what I do is put a little bit like so. And what I'm going to do And I'm going to just show you how quickly that turns into a wonderful, wonderful gravy. I'm just going to show you. Let that sort of saute a little bit. Okay? So we're going to let that cook down a little bit. I'm going to add a little more. Show you how wonderful this looks. It's nothing but flour, actually. So, this is the beginning stages of making some slammin', smothered pork chops, Angelina style. Look at those wonderful, wonderful pork chops. And keep in mind, I haven't even added water. But after you've accomplished this wonderful, wonderful, rich brown flavor, because I added a roux mix to it, you're going to add your water. And basically what you're going to do is let your pork chops sort of simmer in that water, and it's going to tenderize those pork chops, and it's going to have a wonderful, wonderful, rich, rich gravy. Keep in mind that I don't like real thick gravies, and I'm going to chop up parsley in here. And I love my parsley and my green onions, got to have it, but I always